What I want to show you here is another way of sort of getting to the data that we're working with in our project. If you are familiar with this style, this using of pivot tables, then you don't need to watch this video. If you've never seen it before, or if you're curious about how exactly you can do it and why is it better, this video should walk you through that process. So you'll see here I have the Scotland data pulled up, and I've already been building out the frequency and property for the property type data that we saw before. I'm working right now on looking at a number, so the quantitative type variable, the accommodations. So you'll see that those are always listed in terms of how many people can be accommodated. What we want to do here is show you quickly how to do it by hand, sort of the longer way. And so I'll say here, if I want to find the maximum number of accommodations, I'll write equal max, open parentheses. I'm starting here in the K column, so I'm going K1, colon, through K till the very end, K12, 5, 7, 9, close parentheses, hit enter. That tells me that there is a maximum accommodation in this data set for 16 people. To find the min, it's equal min, open parentheses, K1 through K12, 5, 7, 9, close parentheses. The minimum number of accommodations is 1. Kind of makes sense. If it were any smaller, there wouldn't be anyone staying there. To find the average, we'll go equal average, open parentheses, same data range, K1 through K12, 5, 7, 9, close parentheses, hit enter. About 3.5 is the average accommodation size in this data set. Now this is all well and good, and you can absolutely complete the assignment this way. There is a slightly faster way to go through this information, and so what I want to do is show you that portion now. To do this, you will want to select the column that you are interested in. In this case, I'm going to work with the accommodations column to show you two sets of fun things that we can do. So I'm going to click and I'm going to just scroll up. So I want to take the very bottom value and I want to go all the way through and collect the entire column. This is slightly tedious. So while you're doing this, I want you to think about all of the variables. Think about only the important ones. You obviously don't need to take this information for the ID variable, since ID variable is going to be different for each and every listing. So it's not really going to be useful to us in terms of categories or anything else. Wish this would scroll a little bit faster. I don't know that many stories that can probably go in this little spot. As you're walking through this, what a pivot table is going to do is it's going to open up from this highlighted column of information. It's going to take that data and open it up in either a spot within this worksheet, which I do not recommend with this data set because it is so big, or it'll open it up in a new worksheet, and that is the recommendation. So open it up in a new worksheet, and I'm going to show you that as we go through here. Once you open it up in a new worksheet, it's going to have sort of these different tables or windows that pop up. The tables or windows are where we're going to quickly be able to manipulate the data to give us the results that we want to see. Again, I don't recommend doing this in Google Sheets. Excel is definitely the way to go. You can get Excel for free as a student through the Palomar webpage. And so if you're trying to find it, you can go into Palomar College and search for the Microsoft Office suite. It should take you to one of the spots and walk you through the process of how you can grab all of this for free. Okay, now that we have scrolled up and grabbed everything here, including the variable itself, it's time to just forget what we were doing altogether. So you'll want to go up to the top and click on Insert, and then you'll click the very first one, or it should appear as the very first one, Pivot Table. Once you do it, you will have a pop-up box. Let me drag it down where you can see it. It should look like this. You don't have to do anything at all now, except to just click OK. You want to open it in a new worksheet, so make sure that that is selected. Click OK. It'll take you here to a new worksheet. You'll want to click on that variable, so highlight and click it. And immediately what you can see is happening over here is it's showing you the sum of the accommodates. That's not really what we want. We don't want to add up the number of people who can stay at all of these listings. So let's click and drag over in our pivot table field down to this summation values. And once we're here, let me scooch this over so you can see. There are these little sort of information buttons next to it. If you click on one, what it'll do here, there we go, double click on it. Double click does it. All right, so once we're inside here, now we can pick the fun stuff. So let's say I want to find the maximum number of accommodations. You just click on that button and say OK. And you'll notice over here immediately this field changed to max of the accommodations, and it shows 16, which is, if we go back and we look at our listings, We scroll back down. We found exactly the maximum was 16. So it's a much quicker way once you pull it in. We can go back here now and we can click and drag accommodates down one more time, and it'll duplicate it again. We can double click on that information. And now let's say we want to find the min. We click on it. The minimum is 1. You can click and drag it down again. Double click on it. This time we want to find the average. Let me say OK. There's the average. So we're seeing we're finding the exact same values we found before by doing it by hand. Now there is another interesting thing that you can do. So you do this for accommodations, because we can think of accommodations as a categorical variable as well. You can do this for all of your categorical variables in the first place. If you click and drag it from the pivot table field into the columns or into the rows, we'll do columns. What it's going to do here is it's going to column-wise show us every single category or output there was. So there was accommodating one person, that happened 708 listings. Accommodating 2 people occurs in 10,516 listings. Accommodating 3 people, and so on. So we can scroll through and see quickly each of these accommodations as their own sort of category. And then of course it keeps over here sort of the max accommodations and does some of the other interesting information with our values over there. We don't need that one, we're just interested in the counts for the first one. So looking at sort of how many times 1 appears, how many times 2 appears, etc. And so this will really walk you through all that. Let's do it in rows. You can kind of see what's happening here, the sum of the accommodations. Let's do one instead of sum. Let's change that one from sum. Let's make sure it's not summing them all up. Oh, let's open it up here. Let's make sure it's counting. I think that's what we were doing here accidentally. I think where it was saying each of these for the sum, we don't really want to sum them. I just want to count how many times. So switch that column to count and hit OK. And there we can really see. Now we can really see, oh, we have 708 one-bedrooms or 1 accommodations. There's 741 3-person accommodations, and so on. So we should see that the grand total is 12,578. That's correct. 12,579 was the number of rows that we had. That was including the variable name. So we know right now that this is doing things correctly. So just make sure that you're looking at it for count for categorical variables. And this is hopefully helpful to you. You can speed up your process in working through this project if you have not already started using the pivot tables. And if you have any questions, as always, feel free to email at any time.